insinuating? There must be some misunderstanding.
Ruth, it was never the BTK killer.
You wrote those letters. You carried out the attack on yourself.
No, I didn't.
You've humiliated us.
Wow, that's actress Teri Hatcher in the new Lifetime movie, The Killer Inside, the Ruth Finley Story. It's a movie ripped from the headlines. A housewife becomes the target of a dangerous stalker. And joining me now is Teri Hatcher to tell us all about this new movie. It really looks intense.
It is intense.
Yes.
And it's the first time I've ever played a real person.
Yes.
So when I approached it, I really wanted to approach that with a lot of respect and empathy for the fact that she existed.
Yes.
And it's a really, it's a crazy story. I mean, it's a story that if it wasn't true, you probably wouldn't believe it.
Yes.
But it is true. And so, as I said, you know, I really wanted to approach that with the right amount of research so I could do the best representation of what actually happened as I could.
Yeah, and what made you want to play this part?
Well, you know, usually I do comedy.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to try something different. I always approach things really holistically from the start of the script, and I thought the script was really great. Like I said, fantastical.
Yes.
You know, you would not believe it if it didn't actually happen. And also, people love these true crime stories, and I like being part of that. And I think, you know, this movie has a lot to do with mental health, which I think is an important discussion to continue to keep out there of you know, the way anxiety and paranoia and all of that plays a role for some people.
Yeah, and also a victim who wasn't believed at times, correct? By police when they were, you know, accusing her of writing the letters?
Yes, I mean, I don't want to. Well, I don't want to give anything away, but I mean, I will say, here's the thing: if you're not familiar with the Ruth Finley story, then I think you'll really enjoy this movie because it is a psychological thriller with all kinds of twists and turns, and you know, I think you'll get some jump scares. I think you'll really appreciate it. If you are familiar with the Ruth Finley story, I think it really gives you an opportunity to look at the minutia and the development of, you know, what happens to a woman who's living in a very anxious community. I mean, the BTK killer is a real thing. He was a very bad serial killer. I mean, pervasive in that community for many years. And what it was like to live in that level of anxiety for such a long time, you get to just see how that affected her and her family.
And you really gonna have to get into that character, I would imagine, for something so intense.
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's pretty dark, and finding in your body where anxiety could sit in such an intense way that, you know, it could make you behave the way that she does.
Yeah, but you have another project coming out. Like,
totally different.
Totally a complete opposite, but the very next day, WondLa, and you play Mother. Tell us a little bit about this story.
So WondLa is based on the series of books by Tony DiTerlizzi called The Search for WondLa, and which I also actually did the audio books of years and years ago. But in this iteration, the animated series for Apple TV Plus, I got to play Mother, who is a robot, but she's a futuristic robot. So she has many human qualities, but she's still clearly a robot. And she's caring for Eva, who is possibly the last human on Earth. I've raised her in a sanctuary underground, and in the drama of the first episode, she has to escape to above the surface, where she finds herself trying to survive in a very chaotic, unpredictable world. And it's really a story about finding your family, and if family needs to be flesh and bone, or if family can be your found family.
But being a mother yourself, I mean, did you feel like, you know, I mean, you're just talking, and you're not seeing all of the video and the characters, it's just your voice, and you've got to be motherly.
I approach the work when I'm doing voice work the same as I do live action, meaning it's kind of like doing a monologue where you're not just doing your monologue to nothing, you're doing a monologue to an imaginary person, and you're looking for imaginary reactions and imaginary, you know, affectations that you would have. So I use that same technique, but I do get to go into work without hair and makeup, and we both probably appreciate how wonderful that is.
Yes, yes.
But as a mother, I think I was able to bring what I think is complicated for many moms, which is how you know that your job is to nurture and to keep your children safe, to supply them with a toolkit to succeed in life, but at some point you have to let them go.
Yes.
And I think that sort of tug of war is what's happening as this series plays out.
Wow, and it starts the...
It starts the 29th. Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
The 28th. The 28th. Yes,
yes.
and the movie's the 29th.
Yes,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Crazy
so
timing.
Wonderful to have you here. I know you're so busy, so we really appreciate you making time for us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No,
I hope everyone watches.
Yes, well, we've got two great things to watch, so thank you. And again, WondLa premieres on June 28th. The Killer Inside, the Ruth Finley Story premieres on June 29th. And you can find more information about how to watch by just going to our website, kconnews.com, and click Seen on TV.